and die with the election. So I'm going to try and brush those under the carpet here, because I think we've all heard enough of the election rhetoric. I think India Next is about talking about what next. And I want to begin this conversation with the election rhetoric. I think India Next is about talking about what next. And I want to begin this conversation with Jayant Chaudhary. Jayant, you represent, the next generation, so to speak, of Indian politics. What next? What's your plan? If you win this election, what are the few changes that you'd like to see happen? You have very large shoes to fill in terms of your political legacy.
Well, you've been kind calling me the next generation, because I am at an age where there are a lot younger people who are actually change agents, who are pushing the doors and who are behind all of us. And I think they're going to be the next leaders.
Okay.
So I think we have the mantle right now. The results will come out, but I'm hopeful that the result will be good for us. If given an opportunity in the next parliament, I think there are serious challenges that need our attention and attention of policymakers and governments. I think environment is an issue that should be close to the heart of every young person in this country. Somehow it doesn't get the same sort of recognition or mention in the political mainstream, in the political thought, in the agendas of all the parties. And you've seen there are precedents. In Germany, you have the Green Party. So, I think that today, if you're going to talk about the natural resources, we may not have a right over them, but we have to preserve whatever we can for the coming generations.
Well,
so
I
think
have
that's
to
an
applaud
issue.
you for bringing in the environment into the conversation, because a lot of people think that it's very boring to talk about the environment. I, for one, definitely don't think so. And I think, Mr. Gowda, you'll agree with me, because you've been the convener of the Congress manifesto, and it mentions air pollution this time around.
Yeah, we've highlighted it as a national emergency, and we want to give it the primacy that it requires. And actually, if you look at the issues much more broadly, those issues that haven't really resonated as well as they should have, those are the issues the Prime Minister has not been talking about. The lack of jobs for our youth, agrarian distress and the plight of farmers, the challenges to our institutions and their sanctity, their ability to work well, etc. So all of these are out there really staring us in the face. And something like pollution that you highlight here is something that we all live with and we're suffering from in some ways, but we have not seen the kind of political will, the leadership that will help us change the trajectory.
It's a seasonal issue, isn't it? Unfortunately, the few months that, Delhi is clouded with that air of pollution is suddenly when everyone wakes up to pollution, and then when it's all bright and sunny, we forget about it.
Yeah, it's actually much worse than that. That's when it becomes prominent, and Deepavali time when people discuss whether to burst crackers or not. But really, it's something that across Indian cities, this is a real problem. And if we don't fix traffic and transport and the agrarian aspects of pollution, etc., we are actually condemning people to an early death. China is actually, nowadays you hear opinion polls saying that they would be willing to trade off some level of growth just for a better quality, quality of life.
Gaurav, let me bring you into the conversation, because, and I don't want to make this political, because I don't want to make this about, I don't want to
make it political during the elections.
But that's exactly why we're having a conversation about issues that persist in this country, irrespective of the election. But, there has been a general feeling of a lowering of the political discourse. The fact that it's always very personal, it's very rhetorical. Politicians, you'd know that better than anyone else. They're actually, some of them, good friends amongst each other, cutting across party lines, but it's a very vitiated atmosphere. Do you believe that the real issues are somewhere being brushed under the carpet, because it's an allegation that's being made against your party?
First of all, I completely agree with you that in the vibrant democracy that we all are participants of, there is room for dissent. But there is no room for hatred, or there is no room for vitiating the environment that we have. And I think,
have you been watching television lately?
I have been, and I'll come to that. But I think Jayant ji, he's sitting right next to me, is a good example of how to put across things, yet not vitiate the atmosphere of the elections. And I think young leaders like him would definitely set the bar higher. So I think we should, applaud him for contesting and yet keeping very high standards during the elections. But the point here is, I think, somewhere the opposition has lost the agenda and they're not talking about issues that matter to the common man. Like for the Bharatiya Janata Party, Narendra Modi ji has been saying rally after rally that national security is a major issue. And for us, we believe that nation should be strong. Only then can we have political differences in democracy. The Prime Minister has been talking about fight against corruption, how to eradicate that, about farmers. But
You've talked about nationalism, and that's been an overarching theme as
no,
far
I
as
wanted to just complete myself, if you allow me to.
Okay.
But I think when you make personal remarks on the Prime Minister without countering the facts that he is placing, the issues that he is raising, actually the opposition is lowering the discourse. And I take strong objection to any leader like Mayawati going out and saying all Muslims should unite.
Okay.
Why? Muslims will also vote, there are brothers and sisters, they will also vote on the basis of issues. Why? I would assume that because of the good work done by Narendra Modi ji, Muslims will vote for the BJP because they also believe in national security, they believe in development. But Muslims are treated like vote bank and these political parties feel it is their birthright.
You've made your point, and I think the overarching theme as far as your party's campaign has been nationalism, irrespective of where the Prime Minister has gone, where you've campaigned. You've talked about the issue of nationalism because it is, national security is a bedrock from where development goes, etc. But Mr. Gowda, if I can very briefly bring you in here, because, once again I want to bring in the Congress manifesto, because I think the manifesto this time around has been very interestingly focused and has emphasized on liberalism as an overarching theme. In a time when nationalism is getting you the claps and the cheers from the crowd, have you gone out on a limb perhaps? Have you played a gamble?
If you pay detailed attention to the manifesto, we have very, very strong agendas on nationalism, national security, internal security, etc. But we also believe that we need an India where a freedom agenda is central, where not just the mind is without fear, but numerous laws that come in the way of people's abilities to express themselves, the freedom to dissent, all of these need to be emphasized and protected, strengthened. So for example, there's a we've been criticized on our statement saying that the sedition law has been misused and we need to get rid of it. But out there, we also point out that there are laws in existence like the Defence of India Act, the Unlawful Activities Protection Act, Prevention Act, which basically go out there and take care of anyone who actually indulges in what you might call anti-national activities.
Okay. Doing away with the sedition laws earned you the title of being anti-national.
No. You should be saying this is how you strengthen a democracy. And we are also getting rid of criminal defamation for media. Okay. Right? That's something that allows you the freedom to say what you want without being chased around in courtrooms. You saw the journalist being arrested in Manipur,
yes,
sent for criticizing the BJP chief minister. Is that the kind of country we want? You can't criticize the chief minister? You get thrown in jail for sedition?
Where do you stand on the sedition law? What's your opinion on the sedition law? We know the battle lines there are drawn. That's an unfinished Cold War right there.
I'll tell you, we're in the middle of a campaign. And the way this issue is being bandied about is not the reality. BJP very cleverly comes up with these tags and uses these tags which people don't really understand what it means. For example, for a long time they said you're pseudo-liberal or you are secularist. Being a secularist is not a bad thing. Being a liberal person in this modern day and age shouldn't be a bad thing. So they throw these titles, urban Naxal. Until an urban Naxal gets convicted, and we know exactly who an urban Naxal is, what is the definition? But you have the Prime Minister using urban Naxal. It's okay for a terrorist accused to contest elections. It's not okay for a BSF Jawan who complained about conditions to contest elections.
Okay.